Germany, at the beginning, they stressed that all young people, Mädchen, Jungs, boys and girls, they needed to become of the NSDAP, which I shouldn't even say it here, but NSDAP was the signet for the German political army,
Right.
and there were lots of politicians there and so on.
Mm.
And they were building up a group of people very similar to scouts, boys and girls, and they were wearing uniforms, but not scouting uniforms, but Hitler Youth. And you also wear a koppel, which is a leather belt, with a steel front there saying "Gott mit euch," God is with you.
Oh, wow.
And then also you had to wear a knife, which is like a hunting knife. It's a black handle, and with the swastika on it.
Yeah.
And in summertime we had goldy uniform, light uniforms, and wintertime we had dark blue uniforms. And the caps in winter were also very smart, black, dark. You probably have seen it in the movie sometimes. And in summer, also a cap. And we had to wear a tie with a leather knot.
Yes,
A leather knot like that. And then time goes on, you lived at home, but then later on it became more serious, and the command came out that all boys and girls had to train to become soldiers, become part of the defense army. And I was then shipped out to a place which is called Siegen an der Aisch. And it's not far away from Nuremberg or the Schwarzwald, Black Forest. And this was not a question or anything, that was an order, and every child over, I think it was, already registered, everybody was registered when they were 10, but after 12 you had to join in this group.
Right.
And there were about 300 of us, 300 on this camp.
In Siegen.
On top of a mountain, we had the German flag flying. There was a regular army drill with, and then, but we as boys in this particular camp were always very proud of what we learned and proud of being a German and marching. There was lots of sports, very much like the scouting. But later on it became more where we had to do digging and marching and even doing a training exercise, a different one. And in fact I was wounded at one time. I was wounded with a wooden splinter which went into my leg here. It's still there.
Yeah.
And I was taken to the army hospital, and at the army hospital they did the operation, but they missed a tiny little splinter which had gone into the bone.
Oh.
And then I had, it's called tetanus. Tetanus. And I was with that. I remember that I had to go to the top bank, the steel things, top bank, and at night time the whole thing started shaking, the temperature or whatever, tetanus like this. I know that my mother was informed in Germany, Hamburg, and she was allowed to travel with a special pass through the countries and come. This was the last time I saw my mother, because only a few weeks later, or a few months later, she was killed, and but I did not know about that. And so I was in that Jungvolk.
How did you get wounded with the splinter? What was that from?
tetanus.
Yeah, what was the splinter from though? How did
From
you
the
get?
wooden grenade.
So you had a wooden grenade.
Yeah, well, these were training grenades.
Ah.
They're not real, not steel ones.
Right.
Training.
Training grenades. Okay.
That's right.
Ah.
So that's how I got that.
Mm.
And yeah, my Mutti came there and she visited there. Stayed only a couple of days, and
Must be
everything was on passes and stuff like that, you know. And yeah, unfortunately, eventually, when it was all over, the war was over. I think the Americans, English Americans, they came in, and we were allowed to help ourselves of goods from a colony. This was a German troop which had been taken prisoners, but we were told to help ourselves to any of the food or whatever we wanted, because we were told we were then released. Find your way home, 600 kilometers.
600
Yeah. But then things were very, very serious in those times, because there was a lot of killing and going on. The Russians weren't very far. And so there was a lot of this going on. When I went up there, just a funny little point was this, there was a kombüse. Kombüse was a wagon, a big wagon with two wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big pot, huge pot like this.
Yeah.
A big pot out of copper.
Mm-hmm.
But it also had little spaces around for pepper, salt and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And while I already loaded up with tins of things from these wagons, I looked into these things and I found a Knoth. Knoth in English is a Luger pistol.
Ah.
But the problem was that anyone who would be found just anywhere near a gun or a pistol or a rifle, instantly, pang, you'd be shot.
Shot.
Because there were still a lot of people against,
Yes,
you know, this
of
sort of
course.
thing. So yeah, I had this gun, and in one way I wanted to keep it to protection,
Yeah.
because there was everyday stuff going on, bad stuff, like, you know.
Oh dear.
And but then I decided, no, I get it later on, and I dug a hole, put some paper and stuff, put it in there, and left it there. But it's still there today.
Do you remember where you buried it?
Roughly.
Oh really?
Roughly.
Oh wow.
Yes.
How old were you when this happened, Dad?
Oh,
when it all-
probably 13.
13.
Yeah, 13.
You told me you just missed out by like 1 year
That's right,
to
Just-
protect
just-
the tanks. and
Actually,
stuff.
only just months, 6 months or something.
6 months
6, 8 months.
for being in the war.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Some of our boys had to go to use the Panzer, go to the bridges and defend them against tanks, and many of them were, but hundreds were killed and so on. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
crazy.
the gory things. One day we were sitting in the having lunch, and we were just thinking, oh look, there's fighters are bang 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 shooting and so on. But they weren't our fighters; they were enemy fighters. And then, of course, our flag was still up, the Hakenkreuz flag.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was a scary time. And then we were all told, you know, strictly, don't do that, don't do that, do that. Find your way home, get the lift.
How did you find your way home?
Just hang on a wagon, on a bike, or whatever, just going home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only bridge was left over was in Hamburg, but the bridge was already half, but you could sort of climb across that
Still
sea.
climb across.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And then I found out
Gosh.
at the Wirtschaft, Gaststätte,
Which is
it
what?
was still standing. That's the business.
The restaurant in
Yeah.
Hamburg, yeah.
And I
The
called
bar
out.
restaurant,
Yeah,
yeah.
I called out to Mutti, you know, Mutti. I went up the steps and so on. We had, the restaurant was here and the home was there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I went up there, and then the neighbor called out, what are you shouting for, or something, in German.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, I'm back from so and so, just want to see my Mutti, like, and then she said she's dead. and then later on it was all explained. So that was, but doing the Hitler's itself, we had strict times, very strict times. There was no unemployment because everyone just received orders, and you had sports, and you had all those things, marching, learning, all of these things. There was not a question if you want to do it or not, you just were told.
Did you do all like chores to keep the place, like were you working in the kitchen or anything like that? Like were there chores to do?
Everyone had to do some chores. I don't remember that much of it, but yes, there were always groups for different things, cleaning, things like that. Yeah. So that's